another episode of Inside the Numbers with Chris and Crock. I'm your host, Chris. I got my buddy Crock back in the building. Buddy, how you doing today, man?
Oh man, I'm chilling, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. Just excited. Football's back in full effect. So we're gonna have a lot to talk about, man. But what's been going on in your life lately, man? Let everybody know what's been up. We haven't seen you on the show in a couple episodes.
Man, I feel like it's like what have I not been doing, man? I uprooted my family, moved across the country. Finishing up getting my bachelor's degree out here in Arkansas. My wife is entering the nursing program here, so she's going to be knocking that out. Obviously recording podcasts, Strike and Go podcast with myself and my guy Rob Louder. I'm doing the Scouting Academy. To be able to add that to my resume. Running Crocker Report. So you guys make sure you guys check out crockreport.com.
Yeah, go check that out.
Report on Twitter and Instagram. So yeah, man. And then obviously, keeping up with everything on, social media and everything, man. Just a man of wearing many hats.
Right. Yeah, no, I've been doing my best to go ahead and hold down the fort while you've been gone and, handling your other endeavors. I've been letting everybody know, that you're a busy guy and you've got a lot going on. But we're really glad to have you back, man. We're ready to rock and roll. Now that the season's in full effect, we're going to get to start talking about a lot of stuff. I feel like the offseason kind of got a little bit dry, with the same recycled narratives, Dak Prescott's contract, NFL draft, if we were even going to get a season, right? So now that we've got to kick it all off, we're ready to rock and roll. We're ready to get down to business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, a lot of the stories and things that people were talking about, a lot of stuff was kind of being made up because, we didn't even know if there was going to be a football season. You had the whole COVID thing going on, and people were just starting to pull stories out of their ass just to have something to talk about.
Yeah, it started to get crazy.
There was definitely a lot of that going on. So, I'm happy just watching football Sunday. Obviously, it's a little weird, no fans, but,
yeah,
same product, man. Like, it was great stuff. Great to watch all them teams play.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And since, we're starting to get into that aspect of, the show, what I wanted to start talking about was some of the games that really stuck out to you. Now, it's no surprise to anybody that knows us or watches our show. You're a very avid, diehard 49ers fan. Myself, I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. So clearly those are going to be some games of peak interest that we're going to be talking about. But what were some other games that we're probably not going to get into too much depth on, but that you were able to watch and you found interesting?
Yeah, I watched a lot of the Seahawks Atlanta Falcons game.
Yeah.
And, just to see the dominance of a few players, man, like, there were some elite players in that game. The two that stood out are probably two guys that you would expect to do very well. Julio Jones, man, dude looked like Julio Jones.
Absolutely.
And then you had Jamal Adams on the other side, just making plays. Had a little bit of a tough time in coverage, but as far as just being the elite
box
playmaker
safety
that he is, man. He was just a force. Whether he was blitzing off the edge, knocking down passes, or in the run game, man. Like, he had some really key stops. Yeah, Jamal Adams, he was a lot of fun to watch. So DK Metcalf, he dropped some passes, but also had some big catches. Just
that boy is big time.
Russell, but there was a lot of good stuff in that game that I noticed.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think DK Metcalf is really interesting because when he came into the league, he didn't have a lot of expectations built on him in terms of being able to be a route runner or being able to do much outside of a lot of go routes, post routes, things like that. But some of the things he does on a football field where he just blows by guys on top of just being way bigger than everybody is really, really impressive. Jamal Adams being in a Seahawks uniform was definitely something that I was interested in too. I agree, he did look a little bit out of place in coverage sometimes, but when he did make plays, he popped off the screen, and he was still Jamal Adams,
Yep.
Now, for me, I watched the Redskins and the Philadelphia Eagles game.
Yeah.
That game was Definitely not how I expected it to go. I expected, not the Redskins, the Washington football team. That's going to take some getting used
I
to, right?
know, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I apologize for to anybody who was offended by that, but it'll take some getting used to. Much like not calling the Chargers the San Diego Chargers. So there's going to be some catch up with that, but yeah, the Washington football team was very, very impressive defensively. The thing that popped out for me was them and that front seven, more so just in that defensive line though. They had I think they had five guys that had five or more pressures. Chase Young looked like an absolute man-child out there. Philly's offensive line is terrible, and they looked like they were giving up on Carson Wentz on a few of those plays.
Dude, I saw a play where they handed the ball off to, I want to say maybe Boston. I don't want to get it wrong, but it was one of the smaller backs.
Oh, Boston Scott,
And
probably.
and Kelsey got pushed back like literally like 7 yards
Yeah.
into and the back was like, damn. So the back started kind of like going backwards and ended up being like a 5 yard loss on the play.
Yeah.
I want to say maybe it was Payne from the Washington football team that showed dominance on that play. They have a defensive line. There were a lot of people that were saying like, yeah, Washington has the best defensive line in the league, and they have these guys Sweat and obviously drafting Chase Young, but Payne in the middle there, and
Jonathan
there's one
Allen.
other guy.
Jonathan Allen.
Jonathan Allen, yeah.
Yeah,
the
he's a
guys
problem.
from Alabama.
And they're so deep. They're so deep,
And
even on
Kerrigan.
edge. Yeah, because
And Kerrigan.
they got
Like,
Matt
they got
Ioannidis
some,
and Ryan
they got some
Kerrigan.
guys, man, and they can rotate and they all like get after it, dude. Like they got something nice there. And if you can make life difficult for a quarterback, which we saw on Sunday. They said Carson Wentz, I want to say, what, 8 times?
8 times.
Like, when you do that, it doesn't even matter who's behind you.
No.
You're wrecking the game, and that starts to speed up the quarterback's clock. And now he's not playing in rhythm. And, I mean, we definitely saw a lot of that Sunday with that game, and especially, like, with some of the times when I tuned in. Because I was watching because I had Deshaun Jackson on my DraftKings team. And I'm like, come on, man, I need you to get off. And he just couldn't, man. Like, that pass rush ruined the entire game. When you can do that, you always have a chance.
The whole game. They were incredibly disruptive. There was a play, and I can't remember exactly who was in on it, but there was 3 or 4 Philadelphia offensive linemen just standing around, and Carson Wentz looked like he was getting jumped into a gang. You know what I mean? Like, It was just nothing but Washington D linemen just surrounded him, and it was one of those moments. Shout out to my boy Derek for this joke, but he said it was one of those moments where you see in a movie, and then something crazy's happening, and the main character is about to get really messed up, and then all of a sudden it freezes, and then the guy says, "So I bet you're wondering how I ended up in this position."
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it was just bad. Carson Wentz was just getting destroyed all game. So that's something that I'm going to be looking forward to, probably at least for the next few games. I want to see exactly how real that Washington football team defensive front is, or if it's a product more so of Philly's offensive line being bad, because they were starting a lot of guys that didn't have a lot of experience. They're completely decimated with injury. I mean, hell, they brought back Jason Peters to play left guard due to injury after releasing him earlier, and then they had to remove him back to left tackle. And I mean, there was a storyline about it where he was asking for more money if they wanted him to play left tackle.
Yeah, he wanted some tackle money. He said, "Nah, man, y'all want to put me here? Like, y'all gonna have to pay me for this."
That's a fact. That's a fact. So it's I want to wait and see a little bit, but I think if I was to bet on it, I think they're going to be really good for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and I agree. And you're talking about the Washington football team, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing there is, I'm still not a believer in Dwayne Haskins. And
sure.
They really are kind of struggling, outside of, they have the young receiver from Terry McLaurin from Ohio State, who, obviously, he excelled in his first year. He was a big part of the reason why I want to say in the first game last year, did Washington win?
No,
but
so they were up.
Going off that game. He was going off that game.
He was. And when he played against Detroit, Darius Slay, when Washington played against Detroit last year, the stat sheet at first glance wouldn't indicate it, but he was chewing up Darius Slay that entire game. Like if you go back and watch the film, like if you looked at the all 22 and Darius Slay was getting abused all game. A lot of it was poor throws and he wasn't able to capitalize on those opportunities. But it was the same thing this game as well, where he was just destroying Darius Slay anytime Slay was on him for the most part, and Haskins just couldn't get him the ball. So offensively,
I'm not in on Haskins just
I
yet.
am not either.
So I can't even have a ton of faith in that team until Haskins kind of shows a little bit more.
Yep, I would agree. Did you happen to check out any of the Dallas Cowboys and the Los Angeles Rams game?
Yeah, I mean, in a game like that, it's really conflicting for someone like me that roots for the 49ers, because on one hand, it's like you need your divisional teams to lose.
That's good.